like me that this is a theatre first for a while? Yeah. So this is the first time you've been to the theatre since... Hello, thank you. Nice. First time you've been to the theatre. Welcome back, and welcome back to the Park Theatre. Okay, couple more questions. Social media done. Me and our first time back. Who believes in ghosts? You believe in ghosts? You believe? You're not sure? You may be convinced after tonight? You believe in ghosts? Oh, we've got many believers here. Awesome. Who's been to Guernsey? You've been to Guernsey? Okay, awesome, very good. Who remembers the hurricane of 1987? Lived through it in this country? Gosh, lots of experienced people. Okay, very good. Well, let me call up onto the stage, first of all, while the actors are changing, somebody who's going to answer a few of those questions with a positive, I think. Paul Morrissey, who is the co-writer and director of When Darkness Falls. Thank you very much for joining us. Are we gonna jump when they come out?
Maybe.
Very good. So, Paul, I said that several of those questions you were going to answer positively.
Yeah.
You grew up in Guernsey, is that right?
I did, yes.
And is it as scary a place as you make out in this play?
No. Who put their hands up and said they'd been? Is it that scary?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's small.
Yeah.
And it is... If you go there in like October, November, January, February, you know, the cold months, and you're on the coast and it's 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, and you see the waves crashing against the rocks, you just think anything could happen out there. And there's, if you have been, you'll know, if you're along the front, that you can see the other islands. You can see Sark, you can see Herm, you can see Jetu, and you can see Alderney a little bit as well. In the daylight, it's beautiful, and you go, oh, look at those beautiful islands. In those months in the cold, you go, oh my God, that looks horrible and far away. And if you were on a little boat late at night, no thanks. You know, it's horrible. Yeah.
And you escaped at some point.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I escaped. But when you see that, you go, I get it. They're islands on their own. You know, that's sort of what inspired me.
Indeed. And but you were there also during the hurricane in 1987. What are your memories of that?
Just not going to school. I mean, getting a day off because one of the main roads, the artery roads, had the tree fall down onto a car. Yeah. And that was it.
So were the islands very badly affected?
Yeah, really badly affected. Yeah, absolutely.
So lots of people had stories about horrific things.
Yeah.
Now, it was also in Guernsey, I think, that this play in an earlier version saw the first light of day. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So we wrote it, James and I co-wrote the play back in...
And James is?
James Milton. So I have it's interesting, actually, because I have a company called Milton Morrissey Productions, and I'm the Morrissey, he's the Milton. And we just wanted to put an evening on at the local theatre in Guernsey of just folklore. We thought it was a really interesting idea to just commandeer the theatre for a week, have somebody come up maybe and just read some of these stories, you know, because we'd done a bit of research and we were intrigued by some of the stories that were out there. The haunted house, it's real. I was there last couple of weeks ago. I actually went to see it. It's really creepy, you know. It's like boarded up and just sits on the peninsula, and it's weird. And I went to the German Underground Hospital as well. You know.
What?
Come in.
Very good. Thank you for joining us. Careful with that one. I trod on that so many times. Okay, so we are joined now by Alex Phelps and Will Barton. Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming out so swiftly as well. So Paul is just telling us about the first iteration of When Darkness Falls, which he put on in Guernsey.
Yeah, so we just decided to put on an evening of scary stories, basically. And James and I were business partners. We started researching this. We got excited about it, and we just started cobbling it together, and we realised that there was a sort of a through line that kept coming up about hauntings and what hauntings are, and potentially what ghosts are as well, you know. And I've always said that this play is not... It is a ghost story. It's called When Darkness Falls, a ghost story. It is obviously a ghost story. But for me, it's not about... Traditional ghost stories about whether ghosts exist or not. I do believe in ghosts is normally the tagline that goes with it. And that's not what we really wanted. We wanted... If ghosts exist, what are they? And I found that slightly more interesting. You know, are they Scooby-Doo ghosts that run around with sheets on their heads, you know, or Casper, or are they memories, actually? Are they traumatic events that won't leave you? Are they things that stay with you and haunt you, and, you know, night terrors and chills? And that I thought was really interesting. You know, what sort of trauma could bring out this, and how would it manifest?
So that earlier version, that was 2014. Did you perform it as well?
No.
No.
James and I did direct it, but I've got a producer who's produced all this with me, called Chris Wheeler, who's at the back there, and Chris and I were frantically scrabbling around the stage in Guernsey, learning with YouTube in our hand how to create illusions on stage and do all the we just didn't have a clue, but it was the first incarnation of it, to see if we had something. Do you know what I mean?
And how did it go down with?
Oh, really? Yeah, really good.
What's the noun for people from Guernsey?
Gurn. Gurn.
Oh, right.
A gurn.
Now,
yes.
that's something I bet you all didn't know, did you?
Or a donkey.
Okay.
Yeah, Guernsey donkey, yeah.
So how did it go down with Guernsey?
Yeah, they really liked it. I think they were sniggering all the way through at the mention of Hopeville and Market Street, and the idea that, you know, this history happened there. I think they loved it, yeah.
Okay, so that was 2014. Let's fast forward. When and why did you revisit the play?
A couple of reasons. I think Chris and I particularly couldn't really let it go. We knew we had something that was interesting. I particularly love the idea of the genre of ghost stories, and the idea of that sort of collective sharing of scream or jump, or, you know, it's something that I really like. So we couldn't let it go for that reason. And then, you know, when COVID came around, and all the shows were devastatingly taken off, you know, West End closed down, and it just got very, very bleak. And I remember sitting there and thinking, what can I do? How can we get theatre back in some way? I would normally produce musicals, actually, like big musicals. And you think, well, I'm not doing them for a while. And then I remembered that I had a two-handed ghost story where one of them was a ghost, and so they could never touch. And I thought, hang on a minute, have I got the most perfect COVID piece here without knowing it? Yeah. And that's literally what started the fire again.
But even though it was the perfect piece, it didn't go quite to plan.
No, it didn't. This is the third time we've tried to get it on, isn't it? These poor guys have stuck with it for the entire time. Us getting right to the wire, and they're having to call them up and going.
January was going to be first time, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah, going, hi guys, I'm really sorry, it's not going on again. But they in fact, the entire team stuck with it, which was testament to the piece, I guess, but actually testament to them, really. That, you know.
Wow, and so let's hear from them on that. So what was that like for you? And let's start with that, just because you're sitting near me. Yeah, so where were you at as an actor during this horrific period for live entertainment, when you got the script and this became a possibility?
I was lucky in the sense that I completely by chance, Paul had asked me to come in to an R&D day in January 2020, and so I went in for the day, and we workshopped it, and we played around, and we did some fun things, and tested out the language to see how that would fit. Do the stories add up? There's 5 stories. We sort of just spent the day working around it and seeing whether or not it would work, and then March 2020 happened, and then we all went into lockdown. So it was completely delayed from that point on. But I mean, it's so funny, isn't it? Because you don't, as an actor, everything is incredibly uncertain. What it has been in my experience, in my career, it's been a very, very bumpy ride. And I think the loveliest thing is that I started in January 2020, and about 18 months or so on, they have had the grace and the goodwill to keep me attached to it when they could have easily recast and decided to do something else or go in another direction or whatever. And I will be forever eternally grateful for that, to have the opportunity to pop up on a stage as we come out of the pandemic. Yeah. So I thank them really for allowing me to come and do it.
Yeah, to know that you have something to look forward to.
Yeah,
not knowing exactly when it's going to happen.
Because I can't tell you how You know, it could be so easy for people to just recast and change it all. And there's been so many incidents where so many of my friends have sadly lost jobs because of the pandemic, but then they find out that the same show is going on and they don't have the role, and it's something else has happened. Nothing to do with them, it's just the way that it has happened. And so I will always be forever grateful for that. So.
Will, what about you? What was your experience? Did you also begin right at the beginning of this
Yeah,
play?
I wasn't. You were attached to it earlier than me, weren't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I was attached to it from January for this production,
So January of this year, that was a very dark time.
but
so
we then didn't start and then put off, and then we have eventually, and I was touring just before lockdown, and and then that finished, and then
So there are several of us here tonight for whom this evening marks a first coming back to the theatre.
Thank you for coming back. Yes.
For you guys being on stage, what was it like when you first came back and to be able to perform in front of live audiences again?
Well, it's a new place. There's been lots of rewrites. That's quite terrifying because we're having new things put in, and it's still in preview. Obviously, Alex has got more than me, but it's. But getting into it now.
I remember the Wednesday. I remember just before I walked through the door on Wednesday in our first preview, as my hand hit the door handle, I thought, Christ, I've not stood in front of people for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I went out, and there was a sea of faces, and I always wanted to go, just close the door, just go back in and walk back down the corridor. Oh God!
Yeah.
But it was tense. It was nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
It was tense because you're out of practice.
And
you
Like seeing a ghost.
exactly. It was exactly that.
You're
Yeah.
not nervous,
Yeah, definitely.
your
mind-
Tense and nervous.
Get the right thoughts so you're relaxed,
Yeah.
It's been
Yeah.
some nights really relaxed, and others I think, okay, come on, Will. What am I doing? What am I doing? Well, have we got the new illusion, just put in in the afternoon, and then but that's the nature of new writing and the special effects and everything like
Absolutely,
that.
and I want to come back to that, but I am looking, I'm hogging the time. Any hands, any questions from the audience? Yes, over here.
Does it make a difference to perform in front of half the audience? I mean,
Yes,
there's
so for
many
the benefit,
actors.
we are actually recording this, so for the benefit of people who might be watching it, the park is retaining socially distanced audiences at the
Yes.
moment. So yes, how does that affect you
Well,
guys
it's
performing?
good because at least there's an audience. I mean, I've done fringe shows where there's been 4 people in there, well before lockdown. So, so there's always a good audience for the park. It's got a good following. So so it felt like there is an audience here. So that's nice. It'd be great if it was full. That'd be even better. But it's great that people are turning up.
It's difficult, isn't it?
Going
Because
for
you're trying to. Obviously, we would love to cram everybody in and have you all share the collective scream together and be scared by the person next
that
to
would
you
be
who, drops the. That's all part of the experience, But we're very mindful of being safe and trying not to suddenly throw everybody back into it again. So we've tried to balance it as best we can, but it's tough. It's a shame, but we'll get there.
But you
We'll
could
get there.
do it again. Yes, here in the back.
I'll ask a hypothetical question. So, like in a situation when the last scene that was happening, it was tense, we were all on the edge of our seat. Does a situation arise where you miss out on a dialogue or those kind of things? Does it happen? If it happens, how do you improvise in a packed audience?
All right, where we get the dialogue wrong, or
Wrong, or maybe you just forgot or something of that sort.
That's never happened.
no, never. I mean, yesterday I forgot to say something, and then I was like, we were looking at each other, and I was like, I know it's me, and then I thought, oh right, I bet it's the line I always forget in my head in rehearsal. I just said that, and it was the right one. It's lucky we didn't cut 2 stories and go to the end. But gradually we'll get back. Tonight the candle didn't light, a phone went off at a wrong time at one point, so we all can make mistakes and things like that, and
I think the key to it,
but we go through it.
Yeah, when I'm directing it with these guys, is what you're constantly trying to do is just be aware to listen. As long as these guys are listening, and when they do, it's magnetic, and you can see that actually if the line specifically that I wrote goes out the window, they frequently say something a little bit better, and the next night I try and get it in the script and pretend it's me, you know? That's that sort of thing. Yeah.
But that's one of the great appeals of live performance, isn't it? That something could go wrong, and every performance is a little bit different. Yeah. But if I can just ask Alex on that, because Alex, as Will said, you've got the really big chunks of storytelling.
He's got the
do you ever get lost sometimes in amongst telling the story?
No, not yet. Only occasionally something I will have jumped. There were a couple of moments tonight actually where I've jumped ahead of the story, but then I'm self-editing myself while I'm speaking. So I'll go, I know I've just said that, so now I have to make this add up, and my brain is connecting the dots while I'm talking to you. It's really weird, and like a
Pirates thing. You brought the Pirates thing back. It was really amazing.
But the beauty of that, from my point of view as the writer, I'm not precious about it. What you see is actually an actor thinking live in the moment, and that's sort of what you're trying to get anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You don't really want it to sound like I've just learnt this script for you. What you want it to sound like is he's reaching for the words, like I am now. I don't know what I'm going to say.
Actually, to make an admission this afternoon in my dialogue at the beginning, I suddenly missed that one bit, and so I forgot exactly where I was. So I just started going, ghosts, ridiculous, don't believe in ghosts. It seemed quite entertaining, but of course it mucked up Alex's entrance. He was having to suddenly quickly get there, because I was then hitting my cue for him to get on, and then I hit my cue for him to get on, and he wasn't. I was like, so just, sometimes it sounds quite natural to the people watching.
Now,
not ideal, but sorry.
Now we've got 5 ghost stories that Alex tells beautifully in the show.
It's £10.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And some of the promotional material refers to the fact that this play is based on a true story. So we've got 5 stories which are true.
Well, I guess none of them are true in their entirety. They're all 4 of them. 4 of them are absolutely based on folklore and legend from Guernsey. Shembo Do is an actual thing, obviously. Witches and that entire Paraty Massey story is absolutely true as much as we know, and there really is a plaque in Guernsey celebrating it. The German underground hospital story has a lot of truth in it. I was there a couple of weeks ago as well, and that place is hell on earth. I don't know if anyone been who's been to Guernsey. It's 76,000 square feet of tunnels. I went there, we had a couple of weeks ago when it was really nice, because that does happen occasionally, and it was 25 degrees outside, and I went in and I could see my breath, and I hadn't done it, nothing had changed. I just walked in through a door, and it was still dripping, and it's horrible. It's sort of terrifying, and it's so, just to imagine what happened there, you go, yeah, that's creepy, so that's got truth in it. As I said, the haunted house is real. The 5th story is embellished from other stories. The connected dots of John's story is our own writing, if you like, connecting and making a through line.
And Will and Alex, have either of you been to Guernsey?
Never.
No, I've been to the Isle of Wight Festival. That was fun.
Close enough.
Yeah, but that's it. No, that's the only channel I've been to. So yeah.
And in preparation, especially given you had a delay in getting started, did you research any of the folklore that's included in? Yes, you're nodding out.
I researched it all. I just
in your
tried
book?
to. It is in my book. Yeah. So
that book is actually the book he uses in it is actually filled with his own notes.
Oh,
It's
great.
with my research.
Incredible.
I did. Yeah, I researched all of it and tried to, because it makes it easier to learn when you've got the clear pictures in your head of what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fascinating. I can't wait to go. I want to visit. There's the whole Paraty Massey and the witches burning alive thing is all completely true. And there's a plaque there with the names of these poor women that were burnt at the stake, and it says that the horrible story of one who gave birth in the flames and then was given back, and it's horrible. But they're all there on this plaque, and as Paul says about the hospital, maybe I won't spend a night in the hospital, I don't think, but I'll definitely go and check it out. I do want to go.
To do the show there.
Let's now talk about the production and give a shout out to other members of the creative team, because members of the creative team are always important to every production, but here it is so key, the lighting and the sound and the illusions to create the atmosphere. Can you, first of all, Paul, tell us a little bit about your creative team, what they contribute, and then the actors in terms of how you respond to those elements?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Every single show, your creative team all come together and click together. If it's a musical, the choreographer, the musical director, the director all come together to create the show. I've never worked on a show that has needed those people to come together quite so tightly before. Where everybody, it's really hard to work out where somebody started and somebody else finished. You know, so Bethany, who did our lighting, absolutely, I thought the lighting was beautiful in it. It's just really so atmospheric. And John Bullied, who is our illusion designer, who is an associate on Harry Potter and the Cursed Child in town, if you've seen that. And Justin Williams, who designed the set. And you know, Justin doesn't just design a set and go, thanks very much, off you go. He has to design it with John so that the illusions can be housed in it. And John has to build his illusions with Bethany because Bethany lights the illusions, and they have to work with Dan, who does the sound, because he keeps the illusions going and the atmosphere going, and it's just weaving in and out of each other all the time, you know?
Yeah. And just to name check, Bethany is Bethany Gupwell, the lighting designer, and Daniel Higgett is the sound designer.
Yeah,
and you mentioned
that's right.
John and Justin. So how is it acting around this very technical show?
Well, it's yeah. I mean, it's almost choreography at points to get the light in the right place and do it and thing. You know, yeah.
You're not allowed to give anything away, are you?
I'm not allowed to give anything away.
Yeah, we're not allowed to give anything away.
no.
That's right. That's right.
But in fact, Alice is up there. She's quite scary, isn't she? When she comes on. She's there in the
I
back.
can't see anyone up there, Will.
There's no one there.
So it's just have to try and follow it and hope for the best. You know, sometimes something goes a little bit astray, but most things work. So
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
great. You know.
What's lovely is that the team were in quite a lot of the rehearsals with us as
Yeah.
well, so it meant that they could see what we were doing, but the thing is that what was lovely is that there would be days where everyone comes in and Justin would be there with John and Beth and then us, and we're all working towards the same goal of trying to create a really fun, atmospheric, show. And they were some of my favourite days because you just see some of the most really creative people coming up with really amazing ideas, all collaborating them, throwing them into a tumble dryer, and then out comes something really quite wonderful. And it's been a very lovely team to be a part of because nobody is working individually. Everybody is going, well, if you did that, would that benefit this? And you go, well, yeah, let's try that. The sense of play and going, well, let's say yes to it, and if it does work, brilliant. If it doesn't work, we can move on and do something else. But I think the yes word has been very important.
And do you ever get scared?
I do. I'm terrible.
Very jumpy.
Terrible.
I'm so jumpy.
Can't do any of the sound effects. When
I was in on the first day of tech. I was in here, and then the massive scream happened, and I jumped, and I'm the one that cued it. So it's like it's horrible. Yeah, I'm so jumpy. I don't like horror. I stay away from it. I don't like.
You don't
ghosts.
like horror films? And
No, I don't like ghost stories.
I thought I wasn't
or
scared of anything, but I bought a little
No.
pad in Brighton, and I've got this weird thing about the cupboard in the corner of my room. Sometimes I'm going to bed, if I'm there on my own, it's really dark at my place. And I so don't believe in ghosts. I so don't believe in anything supernatural. I don't believe in an afterlife. I check in the cupboard just to make sure there's no one there. Do the top thing. All right, I can't go to sleep now. I don't know where that comes from. But it's just...
Famously, my partner knows I got scared at Shaun of the Dead. That's my.
I filmed just up the road a lot of that. In Crouch End, I saw them filming it.
And luckily, I read the script before I saw the play tonight, or I would have been screaming a lot more. I still jumped, even knowing what was coming. Audience, any more questions? How are you guys feeling? Feeling pretty good? Yeah, dear?
You say you don't believe, but do you believe in paranormal, or have you had any experience?
I haven't had any experience, but I have. No, I haven't had any experience. No, I'm trying to think about.
Convincing.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. My hand just rises. No, I don't know what I believe. It's so funny. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say no because I'm a yes person, so maybe something is there. I don't know. But I don't want to say yes because it would really scare me. So
And you sort of answered the question before, Paul, that you actually wanted to ask a different question rather than answer the question.
Yeah, and you know you're going to get asked, do I believe in ghosts because I wrote it. I don't believe in cliched ghosts, if that makes sense. What the Scooby-Doo one that I mentioned before, but I do believe in hauntings. I do believe that we are haunted by things or have the potential to be haunted.
To be fair to Scooby-Doo, it's always the janitor.
Yeah.
But you raised your hand that you do believe.
I do believe.
And
Yes, I've had experiences that
have you? Yeah.
I can't explain to being of this world, sort of thing.
Can you tell us about the scariest experience you've had?
The scariest one was when...
You're getting scared already.
I used to work 6 till 10 in the evenings when my children were little. And when I got home in the evenings, my ex-husband and the kids would all be in bed. And I'd just sit down and have a cup of tea and watch crappy telly, just to unwind. Our house was the end of 4 terraced houses. There was nothing could come round the side, but you'd hear footsteps coming round. And my ex-husband didn't believe, and then one night he said, "There's somebody in the garden." I said, "Well, you know there's nobody in the garden because they can't get in, because you had to come through a shed where the door was locked and then come out the other side of the shed onto the patio, which was also locked. So nobody could physically walk round." So he didn't until he heard them. But the worst one was, I was sitting there watching the telly, just unwinding, and the room went really cold. And then there was this smell of like smoke, old smoking tobacco.
Yeah.
Now my ex-husband didn't smoke,
Yeah.
and my kids were too young to smoke, and I certainly never have. And it sort of it crept up the room, and I had this heavy pressure on my chest, like I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And I just sort of said out loud to 3 of my dead relatives, "Look, sorry, I can't come. The kids are too young. Go away. I'll come when I'm ready, not when you want me to come." And when I'd said that, it all went. And my young daughter used to have experiences of a man used to chase her around. Now, she couldn't tell, she wouldn't have known that back in sort of in the 40s, men wore big, thick black belts with their trousers, you know, in their vest and, you know. And I said to one of the neighbours, I said, "We keep seeing this man in our house. Do you know who he is?" So she said, "Well, what's he like?" I said, "Describe." She said, "Oh, that was the old man that lived in your house. He died there."
Okay, so
Write this down.
Yeah,
He used to
My Darkness
chase
Falls
the
2.
grandchildren around.
I think you've got enough material here.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
I know.
Darkness Falls the
And my
sequel.
daughter would just say, he used to come out the wardrobe. I put this blooming wardrobe everywhere in her room. It didn't matter where I put the wardrobe, the man would always come out the wardrobe.
You saying about the pressure on your chest, though,
Yeah.
just really reminded me. When I was 16, I remember distinctly having sleep paralysis. Has anybody?
Oh, I've had that. I
Yeah.
still have that
Okay.
till I'm dropping off and I can't move.
So
It's
this
horrible.
is what
You
freaked
think
me out.
something's
So and it absolutely
Yeah.
it scared me to death. And if anybody hasn't had it, it's basically the sensation where you wake up but you can't move.
Yeah.
You're completely
You
sensitive.
literally couldn't move. If someone's come
Yeah.
over to murder, you wouldn't be able to move.
You couldn't move at all,
I've
but
had
you're
that.
awake.
And I
Yeah.
felt as if someone's there.
Yeah.
But it's not.
And then exactly that. But then you saying the figure on your chest, the pressure. I remember waking up distinctly, being awake, not being able to move anything. It's terrifying. And then I had one hand there and one hand, as in a hand pressed my chest and another hand pressed my chest and pushed me down into the bed. And then I remember thinking, "Wiggle your big toe," and I did. And then I just shot up out of it. And so there we go. That's the suppressed memory that I have had.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just said I wasn't prepared to come.
I'm going to go home and watch Notting Hill
So
tonight.
I know. Yeah, definitely not Shaun of the Dead. Stay away from that one. Wow. Okay, that's scary. Thank you for sharing that. I think we do need to wind up now, but I'm trying to think how to follow that up. Paul, help me out. Tell me when Darkness Falls is booking until
Booking until the 4th of September.
4th of September here.
4th of September, and then we go on a little tour. So we're taking it out to the regions, which is really nice.
Yes.
Really
And
exciting.
so if you guys can help us spread the word about that, that'd be very, very good. Last word to the actors. What do you want these lovely people to go and tell others about coming to see your show?
No, don't you stop.
Okay. The theatre is back. Come and sit in a building in a space and let us tell you a story.
Yeah.
because stories is where it all begins, really.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
Well,
come along.
Yeah, I knew you'd say it better than me. Brilliant.
Very good. Thank you very much. Now, for those of you who are on social media, could you do me a favour? When we give them all a big clap, I'm going to ask them, not touching me, but near me, come together and we'll have a photo together. And then will you all take a photo and share that with the hashtag and everything and tell people to come? Yes, people are nodding. Very good. So, please join me then in thanking Will and Paul and Alex and Chris and
Alice.
No idea.
Alice. Oh, so somebody who's not up there. Yeah, thank you.